Hi everyone, in this video I have put together all of the different Easter packaging videos that I've put together for Easter 2025. I've put them all in this one place so you can begin watching them now, and you're going to see how I made all these little Easter treats. I'm trying to get all my little Easter baskets ready and all the treats ready. So now you can go and watch these packaging, and I hope you can have some fun times too, getting all of your Easter goodies ready for your loved ones. Hope you have a great time. For this project, here are the things that you're going to need. So I'm taking some double-sided decorative paper, and what I've done with that, I've got these little bunnies, this bunny die that I'm using to cut out, but you can use any shape that you want. And I'm going to put a link below to a video where I showed, this is one that I used, this bunny, I guess you can see it a little bit better here, using a pattern off of a printable that I had online, and then used it as almost like a stencil and was able to cut out. This bunny would work. It's a little bit longer, but that's going to be fine that you would see. But I'm going to go ahead and use the bunnies that I cut with the die. Then you need a piece of cardstock that is cut at 3.5 by 3 inches. We're going to do some scoring and some trimming of this. And then I've also chosen to use some double-sided tape and also some glue just to have that stability there, and of course some scissors to do some of the trimming. So let's clear off this area, and I'm going to show you the scoring that we're going to do and the trimming for this piece of cardstock. So I have my 3.5 by 3 inch piece of cardstock, and first of all we're just going to start, and on all 4 sides we are going to score it at 1 inch. So I'm using my trimmer to do my scoring, and I'm coming across over here at the 1 inch line. And let's just get the scoring. And your paper should look like this. Along the 3.5 inch, this is the 3.5 inch length here, we're going to trim up on each of these score lines up to that first score line, and do that here on the right hand side as well. Turn it over 180, and on the other side of that 3.5 we're going to trim up on that 1 inch score line. So now let's do some folding on all of our score lines. And I'm using my bone folder to get a really nice crisp fold. We're going to do a little bit more trimming, and I'm going to show you what. Okay, this is the base of our box here in the middle, this rectangle. And it comes out to a dimension of 1.5 by 1 inch. 1.5 by 1 inch. So actually your bunny could have been, it could be any size to fit along this base, but we'll get to that in just a few moments. What we're actually doing to make our rectangular box, we're going to fold these pieces in and then fold up here. And the fold works fine as it is, but to make it just a little bit easier of a fold, I'm going to go in here and trim a little bit of an angle off of this, the little piece, the 1 inch piece that we've cut apart, to make the fold in just a little bit easier. We're going to do that on all 4 of those. Just a little bit of an angle, trim that off. We don't want to get the main box piece because that's going to show up on the outside. Okay, so again, this is going to fold in, and I'm putting the solid piece on the outside. So when we fold like that, we can see we're going to need tape here where my fingers are holding these outside edges. So this is how my box is going to be, but I'm going to flip it over, and I want to place tape here, 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 and here. Again, this is how we'll fold in, and it will tape and glue down to the side. I'm going to use my 2-sided sticky tape along the top portions here, And then I'm also going to use a little bit of glue. The tape will help this to set up while the glue is getting ready or is drying. Now let's just take off this lining for our tape. And like I said, I'm also going to use the glue. I think that just helps us to have a sturdier box overall. And so I'm going to go ahead and apply. I use this Tombow Clear. And then we're going to fold these in. We want to make our 90-degree corner. So line up corner to corner. And just press. And when we get all four in, and you do have a little bit of an overlap from those corners that we've got, but I think that just helps to make your box even sturdier. So we're gonna squeeze those a little bit and give them a little time to set. That's where our tape comes into play and will help us out until our glue completely dries. But there's our little box. Now I've decided to use this side of my bunnies as what's going to be on the outside of the box visible. And I've also taken some twine and I'm going to just wrap the twine here. And let's put a little bow around the bunny's neck. I may have too much, we'll trim that off. But let's just make a little bow here. And let's just trim this off a little bit. And we've got one little bunny with his ribbon, and we'll put it on the second as well. Another thing to keep in mind as you're trimming out your bunnies is that you will want to do your bunnies, cut them in opposite directions. Here they're looking at each other. And the reason, if you want to put these, I'm going to attach these so that they are looking the same way, the same direction. So when you cut your bunnies out, make sure you flip your paper over. If you're using a cutting die, you would cut it out opposite colors, or if you're using your stencil, whatever it is. But that's just a little reminder. So I am going to place the bunnies right here on the longer end of the box. And my bunny takes up most of that space, so I'm going to just put some glue here. And I want it to not go I don't want it to go further down than the box, because I want the box bottom to be, I want the box to be able to sit on the table or wherever you're placing this evenly. And there, we've got that. We'll let that dry. For the first project, you're going to need some plastic gift bags, and these are 5 by 11. They have a little bit of an iridescent shine to them. I think I got these at the Dollar Tree, and these are the kind of bags that usually come with the little closures like you get on a bread bag or that sort of thing, but we're not going to use those. We're going to spruce it up just a little bit. There's nothing wrong with using these, but I'm going to take my little bag and I'm simply going to fill it with some really cute candy. Now, I found these little carrots at the $1.25 tree. I was going to say the Dollar Tree, but I think they're wonderful for Easter. They're little chocolates. I'm going to put some of those in there. And then I also have some little eggs. So let's open these up. But what makes this really cute is when you have the almost clear bag and then you have the beautiful spring colors for Easter. And so we're just going to drop some chocolates in here, mix that up. You put in as many as you want. But here's where we're going to bump it up a bit, and that's with really cute ribbon. And so I have gone in and found some really cute spring colors that I have. Everything from little butterflies and polka dots, a lot of the pastels. I also like using this gift ribbon. This is the kind, you know, that you can curl with your scissors. But I think I'm going to go with this bright pink that I have here. And actually, when I look at it, it says Michael's Store on it, but I've probably had this for quite a long time. But I love the bright pink, and it's got a little bit of little white circular swirls on there, and I think we're going to go with that. So let me get a piece off. I'm going to trim off the end. Now you can always use a closure here, like a rubber band or something, but I'm thinking it's going to be easy enough. I'm going to trim off a little bit more than 12 inches, and then I'm just going to tie my bag together. Now, it's cute to do just one of these, but it really looks good when you have multiples, and you could fill this bag as high of candy as tall as you want. So I'm going to get this first one tied. You can do knots, you can do special kind of bows, whatever you want. Add charms, but just plain regular ribbon will work just great as well. So let's get our ribbon on here. And we have a cute little goodie bag that will be great to give. Someone will love to get in and get the little candies here. Now for the second project, we're going to bump up our candy bag just a little bit. We're still using a little plastic gift bag. I'm not using the iridescent, it's more of a clear one now. And I've added a little bit of paper inside with the ribbon. And if you can see inside there, we've got some little treats. I think I put Hershey treats in this one. And so that's what I'm going to share with you how to do now. So you are going to need a gift bag. And what I recommend with this one, again, I think I got these at the Dollar Tree. You want to have a gift bag that is not very tight. See how well this one opens? And it even has little pleats on the side. And that's going to be important as we're putting our paper inside. Why I'm telling you this is because I've tried to do it another way and it didn't work. So when I have a gift bag, let me share with you this one that is rectangular. And even though I can open it like this wide, I can't open it as wide as this. And it's hard to put a piece of paper down inside of this. So we're looking for one that we can expand. I guess that's the way to say it. So this particular bag that I have is, when it's closed here, it is going to be about a 4x9 bag. But you can make this work for you doing different things. Okay, so we're going to need a gift bag, and we're going to need some paper. Now the paper pad that I'm using today is by Park Lane. This is from Joann's. It's their Easter paper pad from 2025, and it's got some really cute colors. You can use whatever you want. As I was putting this one together, and as you can see, as I did with the first one, I did the blue and white gingham. I'm going to go to share with you. We're going to make one using this green and white gingham. These, of course, like I've said, are for Easter projects, but I was also thinking these would be cute for baby shower gifts or anything, you know, little treat bags or something like that. I can just see those on a little table. They would look so cute as little goodie bags to go. And we're going to, of course, need some little ribbon, and I'm just going with the little white. It's got a little bit of a sparkle. I don't know if you can pick that up on the screen, but let's get started in putting this one together. So I gave you the dimensions of my baggie that I'm using. And so for this bag to work, I'm going to need a sheet of paper that is cut to 3.5 by 5. So I have my paper trimmer here, and I'm just going to cut that 3.5 by 5. And we're going to do a little bit of scoring as well. And that's going to help our baggie to sit up. So when I have my little 3.5 by 5 paper, then I'm going to do some scoring. Along the 5-inch side, we're going to score at 2 inches. And then go to 3 inches, because basically we're going to have a 1 inch on the bottom. And you can see more of, maybe, I don't know if you can pick up the scoring there. I'm going to take my bone folder, and we're just going to fold on those score lines, and I want the colored paper on top. Now, again, well, I didn't mention before, but this is single-sided paper, and that works just fine. If you wanted to use double-sided, you could as well. So we're basically just folding this up like this, almost making a little tent if we were to glue it together. But we're going to leave it open. I'm going to take my goodie bag. I want to kind of open it up just a little bit, and it's as easy. We're just placing this down inside, and I want to make it so that it will stand up. So we just kind of have to play with it. That's another thing about as you're picking your bag, that it will give you the leeway to stand up. It may work a little bit better once we have our candies. So I've got the Hershey Kisses that are, let me show you how cutely decorated their wrappings are. Isn't that so cute? So I'm going to put about 4 of these, and you could actually put a little bit of tape on the bottom and tape them down, but I have found that mine stay in place really well. But if you were maybe traveling or going to be moving around a lot with them, and if you wanted to make sure, we're just going to kind of line that up, take the bag now, and we will be able to put it together. But you can see the little Hershey Kisses inside. Now, I went with just white ribbon, and I'm almost at the end of this roll. I'm going to have to get some more. But again, like we did with the other, I'm just going to tie a pretty little bow on the front of this. I also like to kind of come through when I do the first, before I do the bow, and then just kind of pull the paper up so that we don't have a lot of wrinkling down with the paper. And then we're going to put our bow on here, or you could just do a knot. It really doesn't have to be anything fancy, because really somebody just wants to get into the candy. So kind of make that easy. We don't want to tie really hard knots or anything, but just a simple little bow will do it. So here we have our 2 little baggies with Hershey Kisses, and that would make to me just a cute little gift to give to someone. Our next project I'm calling the Robin's Egg Bag. I love little robin eggs, and especially the candy robin eggs. These are the Whopper ones, but I love how they have the little speckled pieces of candy that resemble actual robin's eggs. And so if you can tell from our little bag here, we have added little shredded paper. Now you can get the shredded paper already pre-made, the kind that go in Easter baskets and stuff, or that you can buy for little gifts. But today we're going to make our own with some different projects I want to share with you. And I love to make little baggies here and put my own little topper. And you can be as fancy or as simple as you want when you're making these. I love using just decorative paper, but you could add stamping on there. You could add other embellishments, stickers, all sorts of things. But today I'm just going to show you the really straightforward way of just using decorative paper. So what you're going to need for this, we're going to need some green cardstock. We're also going to need some more paper to use for our toppers. You're going to need a gift bag or a little plastic baggie. And let me give you the size of the one I have. And I'm going to have links for these bags below. Mine is about 3 3/4 by about 6. And we're not going to actually probably use the whole length of the bag here, but we're going to get to that in a minute. Now, we're also going to need I'm using 2-sided tape. You can use some other tape or adhesive if you want, but I like to use that. And here are 2 tools that I have had for quite a long time, and I just really love them, and I'm hoping that I can find them to link below. First of all, this is a crimper. It crimps paper, and I'm going to show you how to use that. And then I also have these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 these shears that have 5 different blades, 5 blade shears. These are by Martha Stewart, and I've looked and I haven't found exactly these same ones, but I'm going to share some. You might see these even used sometimes, not these because these are crafting ones, but in the kitchen aisle. So these are really going to be fun and be able to be used to make our little grass. And so let's get started with this. So let's first make our crimped up grass that we're going to do. So this is the little crimper we use. We're going to open it up, and I've got an 8.5 by 11-inch sheet of cardstock that inside here, you place it inside, it kind of gets a little bit of a hold on it. So we're going to take our paper, put it inside here, and we will just twist it just a little bit to get a hold of the paper. And so now it is inside the crimper, and I'm going to close it up to make it tight. And then I twist this knob. It may be a little loud, but as you can see how it comes out here, almost corrugated. It looks. It is crimped, and it goes all the way through. So now we have the crimped up paper. Now here's where we're going to use the scissors. So now I'm going to start, usually I start on the end, and I'm going to hold it like this so you can see. I don't go all the way to the very end because that's going to be one of my pieces. These are great to make for this kind of grass that we're using. But if you can imagine when you're doing a project, and if you want to make some grass, you wouldn't have to make it as long as mine. But it works well on cards. Anything that you're needing to make multiple cuts at once. And it's just fun to kind of do. Just be careful. It is a blade. Okay, so now I have all this cut at the bottom. Then I just take a regular set of scissors, pair of scissors, and I'm making sure that I get all of those little crinkles, and I cut them all out, and here they are. I have all my little crinkles. Yes, you can probably buy these, but they're so fun to make. And if you have this little crinkle set, it's really fun. So I'm going to go ahead and put our little crinkle grass in the bottom of my baggie. I may actually have some extra. We don't want too much. I think that's a good amount right there. And I've got a few extra pieces that I can use on my next piece. Let's set this to the side, and now let's get our topper ready. So I'm going to use the same paper. I love using scraps, and I try to use as much of my paper as I can. Excuse me. And for this one, I don't think I mentioned, for this one we're going to need and it's based on my bag as well, 3 3/4 by 3 1/2. So mine is 3 3/4, and then 1 1/2, or we're going to cut 3 3/4 by 3 1/2. So I need to make sure that I cut this, the 3 3/4 by 3 1/2. Because if your paper is directional like mine is, and what I mean by that, I'm going to show you. So mine is directional. When I fold this, and you can see it on, this is what I consider the front, because on the back side, it's upside down. And if that bothers you, you may want to be careful in choosing your paper, that when you fold it in half, that it's not affected. So I'm going to take my paper, and I'm just going to fold it in half. We could score it, but I'm just going to mark up the edges and fold it over with my bone folder, and I have it folded in half. This will be the front side, okay? Now I'm going to use my two-sided tear tape, and I'm going to place the tape down, and I'm going to show you how I have it on this topper, because I like to make sure that the topper is closed all the way. So sometimes I may put a little extra tape on there than is necessary, but I like to do that to make sure that the topper is going to stay closed. So here it is, and if you can see, kind of a little bit hard to see, but you can see where I have put the tape along all 4 edges. And then I also like to put it on either side of the middle section. Now I've got my baggie again, and I'm going to put 5 eggs into my baggie. Oh, that one has a little bit, almost looks like someone has taken a bite out of it. I want my eggs to look really good, and I want to make sure that green grass is at the bottom and that the eggs show through here. So we'll have that there. Let's see, I need a blue one and a yellow. And I think I'm gonna I'll do another red. So I put 5 in here. And I think that is so cute right there. You could tie that up with a little ribbon if you wanted to. We're gonna use our topper though. And as you can see, I've got quite a bit. Even if I fold this down, my baggie is still there. So I'm going to trim a little bit off of my bag. I'm just eyeballing, and I'm going to fold it down. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some of my tear tape. And first, I want to close off the inside of my bag. You can find some bags that have this tape, and I've got some that I'm going to use here in a moment, but it's a different size. And I'm just closing that off first. Then I'm going to place another piece of tear tape here, and we'll get that off. Sometimes it's hard to get the paper off. And then I'm going to just fold it down. Now, what I want to make sure of, though, is when I fold it down, is that I have not folded it too far so that any of the little bag sticks out. If it does, you could trim it off if you wanted to. Okay, let's make sure everything's in place like we want it. Okay, now let's take the tear tape cover off. I like to use this little pick that I have. It is Stampin' Up, but if you can find any other kind of, usually if you have a pick that comes with your Cricut, that works as well. And I'll put a link below to other kind of picks that are really good to use with tear tape to get that off. Okay, when I place this, I want to pay attention to the direction of the paper. Here's my little baggie, and I'm just going to line it up, making sure that the plastic is covered. And I just fold it over, and there we go. We have this cute little Robin's Eggs bags. And isn't that a cute little thing to give to somebody? It's very simple, 5 little whoppers, but just a cute little sentiment, I think. Our 4th project is this little jelly bean strip that I just think is so colorful and so wonderful when you use these colorful jelly beans. I'm using I would say more like mini size jelly beans. And these actually that I've got are the Starburst. I know they come in the all red. You could get all red if you wanted to, but I went with the multicolor one. And then I have just a little topper that's very simple. I wanted to show you how you can just go with a piece of cardstock and a cute sticker. Again, we can make it fancier, but it doesn't have to be, and it's just cute as it comes. So the supplies that you're going to need for this are some little baggies that are strips like this. These are 1x8 bags, and I'm going to give you a link. I have the Stampin' Up bags, and I don't think they sell these anymore, but I will put a link to the ones that I do use. I have chosen just a piece of paper of cardstock, this light blue, because I have several different stickers that I wanted to choose from. I have these little Easter eggs. I had gotten these at Walmart before. Some other little puff Easter stickers. So lots of different things, and these were 98 cents. You can make it very affordable and use this whole bag to fill up. I haven't even counted. Let's see, 3, 6, 12, 15. I think I have 19 jelly beans in here. So, but that's a great little treat. If you can imagine coworkers, if you have to do something for them and just place these on their desk. Wouldn't they be so surprised? So let's get into making these. With my 1x8 bag, I wanted to show you, I will get this out of the wrapper. This particular one has a little strip on it that I can take off, and it has a sticky piece on it. So that's really nice to have. For our little topper that we're going to do, I need a piece of cardstock that is 3 by 1 1/4. Let's see, I'm just going to trim off just a little bit on this. I love being able to use my paper as I have it. So that's my 3 by 1 1/4. And since we're just going to do like we did on the last project and just fold it in half, and I'm going to take my bone folder, let's fold it down and make our little topper, and that's going to be it. Now again, you could use decorative paper, you could use stamps, any kind of thing, but I'm going to use one of these Easter eggs just like I did on the other. So another thing we have to look at, let's see, with this 1x8, I'm sticking my bone folder in here to kind of help get it open. And of course, as we're doing our candy, I have clean hands, this clean work area, because one thing I wanted to do with the colorful ones is pick out so there's, you know, not too many of the same colors together. So this may be the hardest part of this project, is getting the jelly beans down in here and in the order you want, but it's also really easy. It's not a difficult task. And I'm just going to place these jelly beans in here and they will slide down the bag. So I will get to doing that and I will come right back. So I have all my jelly beans in. I think I got 20 in this one. So on this little baggie, I'm going to just remove the little covering for the adhesive, take that off, and I can just fold this down. And I've got that folded down, and now I will be able to place this on top. So we're going to need our two-sided tape as well. And I'm going to do it in a very similar fashion as I had done with the previous one. I like to put the sticky tape on all 4 sides, but because this is such a small piece, I think I'm going to go right down the middle. So I basically have 3 strips on this one. Then we'll lift off the covering using our little piece here, and then we're just going to fold this over. Let's see, I've got which side. We will fold it over. It will match up, and there we've got just the little topper. Now then, you can do so many different things with this. Let's look through our stickers, and I think I'm going to go with, well, I almost went with the same one I did last time. I want to do a little bit different. I'm going to use, I think, the purple here, and I'm just going to place that on the front here. And that to me is cute, and it is enough. And now we have our little jelly bean sticks. So these are great to give as treats. For my last plastic bag treats, you're going to need these cone-shaped plastic bags. They almost look like the kind when you would decorate, do some icing decorating. But I have used these before for different kind of holidays and things that you can mix up. And for Easter, one thing that works great, or actually 2 things that work, are goldfish to put in these, and also little cheese balls. So what I'm planning to do is I'm going to fill these with these items, and then I've also got some green ribbon that we'll put on top. And this gives us the shape of a carrot, okay? So let's go ahead and we will fill these up with our 2 snack items. So I've taken about a 12-inch strip of the green ribbon. The only thing about with the cheese balls is you don't actually get to the very tip of the cheese ball. You don't get one of those down into the tip end because it's bigger than the tip. But I still think it gives a cute look. And then when we have, let's trim off just a little bit of that. We have the topper. And then for those that like little goldfish, now if you can think of other little orange food items, that would be great. And comment some of those below. I've never tried Cheez-Its in there, but I think that might be cute. It would be in the square look, but I still think the orange would come out very cute. And I'm sure there's also some orange candies that I've just not thought about. Here's our little carrot treats that make great little gifts for our friends and family here at Easter time. For today's project, we're going to need both a green and an orange sheet of cardstock, but we don't need the entire sheet. Starting with orange, we're going to need a 6x5. So we'll cut that here with our trimmer. Now you can make this project really any size that you want. I would say mine's more on the larger side of things, so you can always make a smaller one of these. But we're going to start with the 6x5. And for our green sheet of cardstock, we're going to need a 2.5 by 2 1/4. So we'll go 2.5 by 2 1/4. Cut this little strip off here. And so those are our two pieces that we're going to need. So now we have our 6x5 piece of orange cardstock, and we're going to apply some two-sided tape in a couple of different areas. First of all, along this 5-inch side, just on one of the ends here, we're going to apply some of the two-sided tape, and we're going to end up using also some glue, and that's going to help us there. But what I also want to do, because we're going to end up rolling this up in a cylinder, but we're also going to want to close off these ends. So what I'm going to do, and it really is not going to matter an awful lot where you put this tape, but I like to put it about halfway on the 6-inch side next to this other side that we have tape. And we're also going to repeat that on the other end. And we're going to use those in just a few moments, but I really want to make sure those are down good. Now, let's take the tape off of this 5-inch side. I'm going to use my pick here to take off that strip. And now here I'm going to use some of the glue, just a little bit of glue. The tape will help us get this set until the glue is able to dry. Now, we're going to roll this up into a cylinder, and we're going to have an overlap of about 1/4 of an inch. So kind of work with your paper to kind of let it roll. I found that to kind of be a little helpful. Let's roll without bending if we can help it. And then we're going to line up, like I said, about 1/4 of an inch over. And you can just kind of work that together. And we have our cylinder now. And we're going to have to hold this in place just a little bit. Let everything set. And you can see from the inside we have the cylinder. I've got my tape here that I'm going to use in just a few moments. But let's just press this down, hold it, and let this dry just a little bit. Now that I'm looking at this, I'm realizing that I need to add a little bit more tape on this inside. I should have extended it a little bit further. So I'm going to just tear off, that's what I like, this tear tape. Tear off a piece right here. Let's see, and I'm going to place it right along here on the inside. That'll work. Okay. We're going to do some other things with this on the top because I'm going to let this be my top. And the reason I know that, here's my seam, and I'm going to end up placing this flat like this in this direction. So for the bottom half, my tape looks good. Let's go ahead. Now this is after you've let this seam dry a bit. This is why I like to put the tape down first. It's a little bit easier in placing, and then you can just take that strip off. And we're going to do, here's my seam, we're going to just align those two together. We're not making a sharp fold across here, we're just closing this up. Okay, if you want to put a little bit of glue along that strip, you can. But I'm going to show you something else that's going to help hold this in place. And that is using this tool. This is a crimper tool, and I'm going to put the link for it below. I've used it in a couple of other videos I have. First, we're going to open this up. We're not going to crimp the entire piece right here, just a little bit. So I'm going to take the end that I just adhered together, get this into the crimper by rolling it just a little bit and closing the lid, and turn it just a few notches. And then I'm going to get it back out. It threw it out on me, didn't it? And it makes these little crimps here. So this is actually going to help hold it in place as well. Now we have another fun part of the project, and that is filling it with candy or whatever other treats you have. I'm going to put some Hershey Kisses in here. Oops, I keep dropping them. Just enough, it fills those up, and I've got the Hershey Kisses in here. Now let's go over to our green piece. If you will notice, okay, so we're going to end up doing this fold in this direction here. This piece fits right inside our carrot. But we're going to do more than just have this green piece. We're going to add some little ruffle areas, some like the leaf area. So how we're going to do that is I'm going to use my 5-blade shears. These are Martha Stewart, and I'm going to also put the link for these below. And to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start, and I'm going to keep a strip solid at the bottom because that is going to be our glue area. And I'm just going to cut these little pieces. Almost makes like little grass pieces. And then, so you can see the little, that would be great for grass, wouldn't it? But we're going to use it as our little lettuce, or I'm sorry, we're going to use it for the carrot top. And I just kind of like to ruffle them up a little bit. And we're going to end up placing that, like I said, right here on our carrot. This is actually going to be our front right here. And so I'm going to, I think I'm going to first take the strip of tape. I've got the 2 strips in here now because I added the extra. Let's get that out. And I'm also going to use some glue since we're adding in this strip of greenery on the top. Let's see. And we're going, there's my, I don't want to do it on the seam. I don't want the seam to be the front part. And let me poke this out a little bit. It got a little smushed. Okay. Now I'm also going to put a little bit of glue. And we can actually put it on both sides because it's going to attach to our orange here. I'm going to slide this in, and then we're going to close this up. There we go. Close that up. And we have our little green part of our carrot up top here. We have the carrot. Now I'm going to take a piece of this gardening twine. I think it's like a jute, but it is something that you might see in a garden. And for this particular one, I'm going to wrap a piece on our little carrot. And let's put a little bow. Got turned a little backwards. But now we have the little piece of jute. That may be a little bit bigger than I want. We have our little piece of jute around the carrot. And here is another one that I had made. And this one I used a piece of a little punch out from a piece of decorative paper. And I actually used the crinkle on the top as well as the bottom here. And then came in and added our little greenery. So there's different ways that you can do these and do some decorating and fill them with great little treats. But if you can imagine these all in a little bucket with several of these, they are so cute and make a great little Easter treat for your friends and loved ones. So now you're going to need a piece of designer series paper. I have a double-sided piece, and the other side's not really going to show, but it does make it cute for when you open it. It's going to need to be 4.5 by 6. So this is a great use of your 6 by 6 sheets of paper. Just cut it down to 4.5 on one side. So on this 4.5 side, we're going to do some scoring. First of all, let's score at 1/2, then 1.5, 2.5, and 3.5. And you've got that scored. Then we're going to flip over now to the 6-inch side and score that at 1. Now let's do some folding on these score lines. I'm going to take my bone folder and let's just fold these pieces. And we're going to also need to do a little bit of trimming, but before we do the trimming, I want to show you something that we can add. Make sure we fold down there. So when we end up doing our box, it's going to be something like this. And one of these two sides needs to be our front because we want to put our seam in the back. I'm thinking this is going to be our front. So this is the piece right here in the middle. I am going to use, I have this die, and I'm going to go and trim that out to have a little opening in our box so that we can see through like we do here. We can see through and see the pretty colors of the eggs. So let me get my die cut, and I'm going to go do that with my machine. Now this is what we have. And listen, if you do not have a die cut or anything that you want to use like right here, I'm going to show you at the end what it will look like when you don't have one, and it looks cute as well. So now I need to take my small scissors and do a little cutting. So down here where we had the 1-inch score line, we're going to start on the far right, and I want to trim up to that 1-inch score line, and then let's turn it over to the 6-inch side. And right here, this is the 1/2-inch scored piece. I want to cut at an angle to meet there and take that off. So we have a little miter cut right there. It's going to help when we do some folding to make things go smoothly. Now for all these little pieces at the bottom where we have the score line, I'm going to trim up to the 1-inch line. This is making our little tab folds that's going to help to fold the bottom and form the bottom. So we have all those little pieces, we have our top, and let's continue on. The next step is going to be, I want to take a piece of my 2-sided tape. This is a 1/4 inch, and I'm going to run that along this 1/2-inch strip. Remember that we made the miter cut. Let's take this covering off, and I'm going to also use a little bit of glue so we can really have a strong hold when everything dries and is set. And then what we want to do, I'm going to fold this in, and this should fold down right into place. We just pretty much fold it in half, and we form our box. So we have the back piece right there that is glued together. We have our little tabs at the bottom and our open section right here. Now with this being the front, I'm gonna want this tab to be the last piece that I close. So I'm gonna end up folding this in and that end. Let's do our back side, and then we'll fold this on top. So to do that, I'm gonna put a little bit of tape on this piece, and I'm also gonna use some glue. But let's take this off the cover, the front cover of the tape. Sure, I got that tape to go down. Add a little bit of glue. And then we have our box pieces all folded down. This piece has a little bit of an angle I think I made accidentally. I didn't cut up directly on the score line, so let me clear that up. That looks better. And then we just fold this right down on top. And it should close nicely. You can set it down there if you want to put your bone folder in and just rub it across. But there we have our little box. Next, we have the fun part of putting in our little Easter eggs. So I have 5 little eggs. I'm going to just drop down in here. And I like to make sure the colors are mixed up a little bit. This pink, some of the wrapping is not showing all of the pink. It's gotten turned over. I think I'll just turn it the other way if I can get it to drop that way. There we go. And then we'll do a blue and then pink or yellow on top. You can't really even see that. And then we're gonna pinch in the top to close, as we have here. I'm gonna take just a regular hole punch. Got some holes coming out. A regular hole punch. And we're going to punch a hole right in the middle. We have the hole. And then we're going to take some pretty ribbon here. So I've got some white organza ribbon. Just need a little bit. And I'm going to poke that through here and then tie a bow on top. Let's trim this off a little bit. I was way off on my ribbon on the one side. And then we have our cute little Easter presentation here. Here's the other one that I had made. I used a little bit different of a ribbon. Now, I also wanted to show you if you don't have a die or something that you feel like you can do at an opening. And notice, I didn't even put any clear plastic on top of this. I'm leaving it open, and it works for this candy and the size. If you don't, though, this is a box without the opening. You can still do the whole entire thing. Pinch this in after you put your candy in there. Let's punch a hole, and you can also put a ribbon here. For this one, I just went with a simple little knot, and I think it looks so pretty with this organza. And you've got your little container. It can be filled with any kind of candies here. You could even do something different if you wanted to do little M&Ms or something like that, because now it's not going to have the risk of coming through there. So to get started on our project today, we're going to need some cute paper, and because I'm going with an Easter theme, I'm going to use this Joann's by Park Lane paper pad. They're Easter, and I've used it on several different projects, but they have such the cutest paper in here, and I think I'm going to go with the full-blown Happy Easter with the little details of the sentiment and all the little cute Easter eggs. I'm going to have that as the wraparound cover for our matchbox, and then use this pink cardstock to be the bottom of our box. So let me get those cut and I will show you the dimensions. So to start with our cover, you're going to need a sheet of Designer Series paper that is 10 by 5 1/8, and I'm just using single-sided paper because it is going to be wrapped around. And then for our bottom portion of our box, you're going to need a piece that is 5 1/4 by 7. Now we're going to do some scoring, and I'll show you the dimensions for that. With our 10 by 5 1/8 decorative paper here, we're going to first score it along this 10-inch line at 2, 3, 6 1/4, and 7 1/4. I love doing these covers. They're really so straightforward. So there's our cover. Now let's look at the bottom of our box. So along this first length, we're going to score it at 1 inch. And then at 6 inches. This is along that 7-inch line. And then let's turn it around, flip it around, and along the 5 1/4 line, we're going to score it at 1 inch and at 4 1/4. So really, we're just doing a 1-inch trim around all of these sections. Let's do this bottom first. So I'm going to take along this 5 1/4, I'm holding it this way, and we're going to do some trimming of these little corners. We have the 4 corners. I'm going to just trim up to the first score line, and I'm going to do that on both sides. Now let's flip it around to where we're on the opposite end, and we're going to do the exact same thing. Let's just trim up to that score line. Now this is just a single layer box. In the past I've done some double layering, but this is just a single layer. The use of our ribbon as our pulley helps with this. So now let's do some folding on the score lines. And you should be able to begin to see your box coming into play, into life. Get those tabs also, include those in your scoring. And I'm going to use a little bit of adhesive and tape as well. Now I think I'm also going to do a little angle cut on each of these tabs. Let's just cut a tiny angle off of each. It just helps when we're doing our folding. It doesn't take a lot. I just freehand this. It's not something you have to do, but again, I just think it makes the folding a little bit easier. Now when we take our box, we're going to fold up, oops, that little piece didn't come off. We're going to fold up our ends, and when we fold up the sides, we're going to have our little tabs that are going to fit on those ends, and that's where we're going to need to put our adhesive on these sides, but it's really on the opposite. This is the inside of the box. We're going to put the adhesive on this side. So let me go ahead. I'm going to do some tear tape to just help it to hold until our glue dries and sets. But it will give that initial hold. And while we're working on the outside cover, this can be setting up to dry. So let's get our tape down, and I'm going to get my glue out. I use the Tombow glue. I'll have links to all of these products in the description below. And let's remove this top layer of this two-sided tape. And we'll get ready to fold up. Let's go ahead on this top layer, or actually this end, and I'm going to go ahead and put the glue. We'll fold everything in and make this corner 90-degree corner. And let's do it with this other side as well. We're forming this box. Line up those ends and just hold it in place and press, and that's where our tape comes in handy. Now I need to put some glue on these ends as well. This little box is great for many different events. We're using it for Easter here, but as you can imagine, I use it for almost every other holiday. I can make things, and it's perfect if you need that, your own size box for whatever gift it may be. And you can make it fit the size that you need. So here is our box. It is ready, and I'm going to set that aside and let's work on the cover. So we've already scored our cover. Let's fold our score lines now. And using my bone folder to get that nice crisp edge. And once we have this, it's just going to be gluing together. So now if you line this up, notice it doesn't go all the way to the end. We are forming a rectangle that we will be able to slide our box in and out of. So we want to make sure that we form these right angles with our box. So I like to make sure I've really got the folds down good. And then I like to take the box, put this on, line up the edges, and sometimes it just takes a little finagling. Get it to line up, and then, because we're working on our back side, I'm going to very lightly take this pencil and mark my spot where I'll know that I'm going to tape. So here's what we want to do next. We're going to be folding it in this direction. So I need to place tape here, and I'm also going to place tape on the inside there. And I'm doing it on the edges so that I will make sure and cover the spots that need to be covered, but then also not put too much tape on. I don't want any tape showing through on an edge that's not an overlap. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And it will be enough to hold that in place. Okay. And you have to be careful. It's not going to be a fold that ends up like this. There is just a little bit of a give. So here's what I'm going to do. Let's remove the cover of our tape on both sides. And then again, I'm going to place it around. And we have the piece that goes down. And then let's pull. We want just a little bit. It doesn't need to be super tight because we also need to be able to get it off. And then we're going to just slide this off. Now this is why I like to use the ribbon. You are able to get it off, but you have to kind of be gentle. So that's why I've decided to put the ribbon on it. But that's all there is to our cover, okay? Is just taping those pieces down after you've got it sized up. Before we do our ribbon, we've got to fill our box. So let me show you how we're going to make the little grass. I have this lighter color green that I want to use. I think it goes well with the green there. I used this on a previous project, and so I had a little bit of a scrap, and so I'm going to use it. I'm also using my crimper tool and my 5-blade shears, multi-bladed. I've used these more this holiday season than I have in a long time. And if you're interested in them, I've got the links below of where you can find these items. But we're going to put our paper in the crimper and just roll that right through. And it's going to give us this little crimped look that I think works really well for the grass. Now we're going to use our scissors. And we're just going to I'm going to do try to do the long strips. Kind of hard to do. Maybe I can meet here. And we'll make those come apart there, making the little grass. I was trying to extend it on, and I really don't know if I can do that. So, but that gives me some longer pieces. Let's continue and just cut our little grass into strips. I'm just going to do it the way I have been doing it, which is extending the blade as far as I can. and cutting this into little bitty strips. And we'll break these all apart here once I get finished. And we have our little crinkle grass. Now, depending on if you have different kind of treats, you may not need a lot of grass. I'm using little bitty pieces of chocolate candy. And so I'm going to need, you know, it's almost like a little grass bed that I'm placing inside my box. It would also, you could put maybe some tissue paper or that sort of thing. But here's my box, and I'm just going to place, actually I want to crinkle all my grass up even more than it's crinkled by the crimper. And then I like to just kind of place that inside here. Got this little Bunny's Basket mix. Isn't that cute? It comes with all these different kind of chocolates, peanut butter filled, double crisp, fudge filled. And just be careful, of course, if you've got the peanut butter and somebody that doesn't need to be around peanut butter, we would use something different. But I love these little round coin looking chocolates. I think they look so cute. There's the peanut butter. We'll use these different colored ones. Look at the little bunnies. Are they not precious? And let's put one more thing in the middle. How about, I'm going to switch these out. Hang on, let me. So now that all the little candies are filled, I'm going to take just, I've got some white ribbon, and I'm going to do it, let's see, I'll let you know how long of ribbon. I'm kind of eyeballing it because I want to put a bow. So I've done about, 24 inches here. And I'm basically just wrapping this. Now there's a couple of different ways you could do. You could put a tab at the top here, but because I was just doing the single side of the matchbox, I just wanted something a little bit more than what was attached to the matchbox itself. So I'm going to put this little bow here, secure in its place. And let's see, let's trim that off just a little bit. And then it's time to just slide in to our matchbox cover. Is that not the cutest thing there? Wouldn't you love to just receive these little chocolates? That's what I think about with gifts. Is it something that I would like? Yeah, I would love to get some little chocolates. And so this just fits right here in place. And it's a cute little box filled with all the little goodies. Everything is in here secure. So that wraps up all my Easter treat packaging for 2025. I hope you've enjoyed watching me and that you've been able to join in and make some of these packaging treats as well. I still have some other projects that I'm working on for Easter and spring, so be sure and follow me because I usually post videos multiple times a week. I'd love to have you watch, and I'd love to hear your feedback and the different ideas that you have. Follow me here on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram and TikTok. I hope you have a fantastic Easter, and I'll be crafting with you again soon.